Hey guys, it's Tuesday night again. We're ready to go. Hey Josh, first in as usual. Good on you, man. So, what's been happening, everybody? Where is everybody? We only got two in here at the moment. All right, you're all snoozing today, huh? Still recovering from the results of last week's election, I guess. Well, hopefully you've all been having a good week. I know I have. Been very busy. So, okay. Got one light, 3, 6. Yeah, you're all arriving. Speak to me, guys. What's going on? Okay, the silence is deafening. All right, somebody must have some questions. Tell me what you've been doing, what's been going on. Oh, there we go. Chris Freemas is in the house. Good evening, sir. How are you doing? Good evening, the Chris who is not me. How are things? Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. Yeah, just been really busy. Getting just getting loose ends tied up a little bit. You know, a few smaller jobs that have been in the shop. I've got a couple of videos ready to go out, and fine tuning some of the merchandise, which is coming on the day before Thanksgiving. So what I'm hoping to do is like get the stuff into a store, on YouTube, and we'll try and see if we can't take some pre-orders and be ready to fire them out. As soon as I get my hot little hands on them. Josh Homan, not too much going on there so far. Oh well, quiet times are good. Automophilic, any tips on getting a rope seal out of the block in a 289 without dropping the crank? Yeah. Oh, Granddad's junk. Hey, how are you, man? Okay, is the engine still in the car? Like, are you trying to do it in place, or have you got it like upside down on an engine stand? That makes a difference. Yeah, because if it's still connected at one end to all the timing chain and stuff, and the other end, the back end of the crank's, still in the car attached to a flywheel or flex plate, that does have quite a bearing on it. It's in the car. Yeah, okay. Typically, I've done it. What I usually do is just loosen the main caps, just back them off a little bit, and the crank will drop down a few thou, not a lot, but you can get it to drop a little, and then you can usually push the old seal out with the new one. Running it around. Are you going to put another rope seal back in, or are you going to put the more modern 2-piece rubber seal? Typically, yeah. Either way, you can usually push the old one out, either with a piece of wire, bent to the right shape, but you got to be a bit careful doing that, or with the new seal that you're putting in, you can often push them out. But dropping the crank not right out, but just to say, like, undo the main bolts, a turn or two, and just let it sag a little bit, and that'll take some of the squeeze off the seal, which should let it move. Don Ballot, working overtime, hard on the old man. Yeah. Many's the day I think, I'll work late tonight and I'll get a few extra hours in and get a bit something done on one of my cars, and it comes like 5:30 and it's like, I'm done, I'm spent. 20 years ago I'd have kept pressing on, but it's just getting harder as the years go by. The dude, remember the time you knocked the bald guy's hat off? That was funny. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, that was pretty funny. We had a good dynamic going there for quite a while, but Snow crusher, use a drywall screw to pull the seal. Okay. That's a new one on me, but yeah. That could well work, yeah. Automophilic. I have the rubber one and the rope one. Yeah, I mean I haven't tried that screw one. I don't know, but it sounds feasible. Sounds like Snow Crusher's done it, so they're pretty tough though, and like it'll be fairly hard, that rope seal, by now. Tavo's in the house. Hey, buddy, how you doing? The kangaroos. Look at that. Very good. Did you like my little? Did you see the description of tonight's live, Tavo? I put that in especially for you guys. Unfinished project. Tight ass Valiant owner. Yeah. See, that's a little known, probably little. We spell it ARSE in New Zealand and like Australia and England, I think. We don't say S, we say arse, so it's got an R in it. It's ARSE. Pointless bit of information, but there you go. Don Ballard, any Cougar stuff coming anytime soon? No, not in the near future, mate. No, there's not. That car will probably be coming back next year sometime, and I'm not exactly sure when. Stray Bullet, hey, welcome along, buddy. How you doing? Thunderbird 1968, good evening. Any advice on lowering a front end? Planning to trim the coils. Yeah, I mean, that's really that's the easiest way to do it. I mean, you may, I'm assuming it's a 68 Thunderbird. You've got to be a little bit careful that usually each end of the coil is shaped a specific way. And sometimes you can get away with just cutting it, but it changes the angle of the coil where it usually sits. So you have to heat the end of it and just tweak the shape of it to make it like the end of the coil used to before you cut it off, which is not that hard to do if you've got an oxyacetylene set. Like Mustangs, you can chop the front coils on the Mustangs, but they don't. It changes the angle where they meet the base of the coil, where the coil spring sits on the base, and it doesn't always fit very well after that. So what I usually do on the Mustangs, if I go that route, is just actually heat the spring up just at the end, the last couple of inches. You can't heat the whole thing up because you would mess with the tempering of it. But if you heat just the last little limit, you can kind of tweak the shape a little bit and get it so it'll fit nice. Automophilic tried the screw and a sneaky Pete just pulled apart. Okay. Yeah. I would drop the crank, or as much as you can, and not out, but just lower it a little and try and push it out. But yeah, it's it might take a little bit of patience to get there, but yeah, all you can do is try, man. Timothy Arnott. Yeah, sorry. I think you already asked that question. Just trying to answer everybody. Yeah, the Cougar has gone back to the owner's place, and it should be coming back to the shop sometime next year. I'm not sure exactly when as yet, but it depends a lot on his other projects and mine. Barry Cooter, Thursday night. What are you talking about, Barry? Tuesday night. Tuesday night? I'm not sure what you're saying there, bud. Unfinished project, point taken on Aerodynamics. Okay. Into the I was sharing. I didn't mean you have to change anything the way you do anything at all. That's not what I meant. I was just sharing that. As I said, pointless bit of information. With my pinky out. That's funny. Yes. Well, yeah, you got to be a little posh about it, Tavo, always full of useless trivia down in this hemisphere. There you go. You're not working, Tavo. I thought you'd be at work about this time today. What's it? Wednesday over there, isn't it? Timothy Arnett. Okay, answered my question. No, don't be sorry, man. Don't be sorry. As the questions scroll up, sometimes you miss them, and they all kind of start to mix in, and you miss some questions. So, if I don't answer you guys, it's not because I don't want to or I'm ignoring you. It's just I've probably just missed it. So please, no need for apologies. Don's Manufactory. Hello, Kiwi from soggy, blustery PDX. Oh dear, really? It's been trying to rain a little bit here, but not much at all. It's pretty pleasant actually. It's kind of sitting around 70 degrees and still t-shirt weather in the middle of the day. It's quite nice. Quite nice. Don Bellett, drywall screws work great for pulling a lot of different screws. Okay. Oh, look at your video, Tom. Cheers. Oh, so I can't spell? That sounds about right. I managed to put an R instead of an E. Okay, my bad. Sorry, bud. I was actually rushing a little bit because I put it all in and then hit the wrong button and it erased it all. So I had to kind of quickly type it all out again. So I wasn't spell checking as good as I should have been, clearly. You guys don't miss a trick, though, man. I'm telling you. Chris Freemasser, PDX. Yeah, I'm not sure what PDX stands for. I didn't want anyone to think I was just the only dummy in the room, but okay, it's good. Seems like the two Chris's don't know what PDX stands for. Don Ballard, cougars are expensive, both kinds. Very true. Very true. Very true. Dickie Farley likes, yeah, good. Lots of likes helps me, guys, and helps the. It encourages YouTube to kind of, push my videos or my lives or whatever. So yeah, lots of likes is always good. Oh, Portland, Oregon, PDX, Portland, Oregon. Okay, is that like the airport abbreviation or acronym or whatever they call it? Straight bullet. Well, it's Tursday. Yes, it is Tursday. I mean, when you had enough of these, it becomes Tuesday. Oh, Josh Homan in the 30s up there today. Wow, that's cold. 6th Street Garage. Howdy, Kiwi, and everyone else. Is that Jeff Gordon on the? Yeah, on the. You look like you cut yourself off. Yeah, Jeff Gordon. And the got the Bugs Bunny. Got all the Bugs Bunny logos on this one. Looney Tunes, I think they called the car. It was the Looney Tunes logo. If it's got it on it, does it have it on it? Warner Brothers. It's a Warner Brothers sponsorship. So yeah, it's an 8-inch scale, so it's quite big as those NASCAR die casts go. But how much you can see. Got a little engine in there. Quite detailed. Got all the fuel. I don't know whether you'll be able to see it, but yeah. Oh, look at that. Fuel cell and hoses and all the gear. Yeah, quite a neat little car. Got a lot of 124th NASCAR. I was a real NASCAR nut when I was living in New Zealand. So honestly, I've faded away from NASCAR a little. Just yeah. We've got some interlopers in the room. Kiwi Mars. Now, who would that be, I wonder? Mr. Kiwi, how is the sunbeam coming along? Will Mrs. Kiwi have it for Christmas? Well, she will have it for Christmas. It's just yet to be decided which Christmas. So, yeah. Don't know. Now, Portland, Oregon. Yeah. Timothy Arnold. Okay, if nothing on the Cougar, how about an update on Large Marge? Love that car. Yep. What's an update on Large Marge? Well, if you're watching last week, I was explaining that I had a complete video on Marge in the can, so to speak, and my SD card just took a shit and wouldn't read. Nobody could read it. We tried a few different ways, and it's been sent off now to for the data retrieval people to try and unlock it, or whatever the correct term is for that, retrieve the videos off it, which was rather frustrating. And I can reshoot that video, but yeah, I'm hoping to get it back. So right now, though, there is not really any updates on Large Marge. So yeah, that's the sad story on that one. Mickey McFart, 74 318 LA, unrestored, worth anything? Like just the motor you're talking about, Mickey? If it's just the motor, there's an awful lot of those around. They're not worth a lot of money, like, unless they've been freshly rebuilt or something like that. But just an old unrestored one is not worth a lot of money, I'm afraid. But unless it's in something. Dickie Farley, Jeff Gordon car, yes, but what happened to the Pee Wee Herman on the back of the couch? Pee Wee's over here. He's here. Kev's. I left Kev in the car, so he's outside in the cold. We'll put him up there. Looks like he's been drinking. He's got a bit of a wrong way. He's got a bit of a lean going on. That's okay. And the wife's all pressure warning. The all pressure warning jack-o'-lantern. Well, nature kind of got the best of that, and it just kind of started to go mouldy and collapse. So that was a 1 week only deal. That one, the actual pumpkin, because it was a real pumpkin. She carved it out of. They don't last forever, surprisingly, and it just went all watery and soggy, and we had to lay it to rest. Timothy Anna, tell me about Large Marge, please. Thank God for Bugs Bunny. That's a lot of us grew up with Bugs Bunny, didn't we? Large Marge, trying to get the floors fixed in here, so we can get some carpet in it, and get it a little quieter and a little nicer to drive. It really is like driving a big old tin can at the moment. But just not getting the time into my personal projects that I really want to at the moment. There's just so much customer work to do, and I'm trying to scale that back a bit, just taking less and less bookings. And, so I'm hoping the goal is for early next year to be putting a lot more time into, a lot more, but, at least 2 days a week into my own projects, that being, the wife's Sunbeam, Large Marge, and a couple of other things that are lurking around the place. So, and just try and have a little bit more fun. Maybe, I'd like to do a little bit more with Kevin Tate's, on his Camaro. Help him out, with Derek at Vice Grip Garage. So so hopefully next year is going to be a little bit different. But I've certainly got a deadline. There's my wife would like her little Alpine to be at SEMA next year. So, but that's a lot of work between now and then. I mean, I know it's a full year. SEMA's just been. I'm sure you guys have all been watching seeing all the pictures coming from SEMA. Some pretty amazing cars out there. Stray Bullet. NASCAR hasn't been the same since Dale Earnhardt died. Yeah, that was some truth to that, bud. Yeah, it's. I know they're kind of struggling with their, with filling the state, the tracks, filling all the seats at the tracks, and the TV following has been suffering a little bit. But the cars have all gotten a little bland. Yeah, so it's struggling a little bit. What have we got? Mickey McFast, just the motor in Tennessee. You want it? A 318. Really, 318. I really don't have a use for it, buddy. And I've got enough Ford engines and Hemis and big blocks and like just around the place. And honestly, the last 318 I actually gave it to Uncle Tony. I said, mate, here you have it. And he was like, oh, okay, like bring it here. And, I'm not sure whether he ever did anything with it. He always said, if I ever wanted it back, I could have it back. But I just didn't have room for another motor. So that last one, I gave to Uncle Tony. So, I mean, I really appreciate, it's a generous offer and I do appreciate it. I don't have a home for it. I don't have anything to put it in. Yeah. But someone like Dr. Art might want it. Dr. Art or UTG might want it. Barracuda, RIP, the legend, Bobby Allison. Yeah, that was very tragic, wasn't it? It was another tragic loss in NASCAR. Mickey McFarts, I'll donate it to Uncle Tony maybe. Yeah, honestly, that might be a better home for it. I mean, he's just Mopar nuts, and I'm, I love Mopars and Fords and all of them really, but I just haven't got a use for the 318. I've got like 3 289s sat there without homes that have just come into my possession through various customers, and I just can't keep stacking up engines. Dickie Farley, Kiwi, so sorry for your loss. I'm sorry you had to put the pumpkin down. But seriously, your wife did a great job on that. I thought it was really cool. It really was cool, and it was good. We had it out on the Thursday night outside on the balcony. I'm not sure whether some of the dads that were coming around got a kick out of it, but I mean the kids I don't think understood, but that's okay. Hey, hopefully a few dads did a double take on it. Granddad's Junk, anyone familiar with the 64 383 horsepower engine that had closed chamber here? No, unfortunately not me, buddy, I'm afraid. No. 6th Street Garage, NASCAR is not the same. I quit watching 20 years ago. You were probably in about the same time zone, actually, because 20, maybe not 20 years ago. But yeah, probably 12, 14 years ago, I kind of started to fade away from NASCAR a little. Now, if I catch a bit of a race, I don't know many of the names there. I enjoyed, the likes of Tony Stewart and, Jeff Gordon, Carl Edwards, those guys. That was good racing. I don't know, but I mean, maybe it's not, it's not necessarily got worse. Maybe we've just got older and changed what floats our boat, as it were, The dude, how do you get to show a car at SEMA? That's pretty tricky. You can buy a space there. Not in the main halls typically, not unless you got a lot of money. But yeah, like when I had my Mustang there, that was on the trick flow cylinder heads. It was on in their booth, and they supplied all the top end of the engine for it and that kind of thing. But yeah, typically you need to know. So it's really is a lot of it is who you know. You need to get yourself aligned with someone who has a display, paying for a booth at SEMA, and get them to believe in your car, your build, and then they'll take it in. So yeah, I mean, if the Sunbeam was to be ready for SEMA next year, I really don't know where it would go. and it might be a little late for that because usually next year's cars are already decided upon, like the Trick Flows, all the different companies that have got cars there. It's already decided what they're going to have next year. So you don't just ring up and say, hey, I've got a cool car. I want it in your booth next year. And they're like, oh, you're 2 years too late, buddy. Sorry. Yeah, I was very lucky to get my Mustang in there. And yeah, we might be able to get the Sunbeam on a one of the more outer areas, possibly. But to get into like Hot Rod Alley, the main hall, that's pretty tricky. Mickey McFarts, we're both dumping 318s on UTG. Maybe turn it into a coffee table. Yeah, there you go. Well, I think Tony's got that 426 block that I think is destined to be a coffee table. But yeah, time will tell. Old cars and music, 6th Street Garage. I've had enough with NASCAR after Noah Gregson's ordeal with them. I don't even know that name, buddy. Noah Gregson. Huh. Chris Freemasser, grab the 318 and then build a 71 satellite Sebring around it for me. Yeah, there you go. I think someone should put a 318 in a Rampage. I think that'd be a cool little pickup truck. Convert it from front drive to rear drive and put a 318 in it. I know one's been done with a Hemi, like a 5.7 Hemi in a Rampage. So, yeah. Don Ballot, if you have a 351 Cleveland in your way, I'd be glad to take it off your hands. No, it's all Windsors, mate. It's all Windsors. The Clevelands are just fairly thin on the ground, really. They're around. You can pick them up fairly cheap, but I've not been offered one for free. Dickie Farley, I would say the same for me with racing, Kiwi. Not 20 years, but at least 10 to 15. I'll say 12 or 13 for sure, yeah. Unfinished project. Is the Hemi Barracuda still a future project? If so, when? The Barracuda was slated to have the stroked out 440 with the 6-pack. And that's still definitely a possibility, yeah. Time permitting. I mean, I've got the car, I've got the engine, got the trans. Don't have the time. But as I was saying, I'm working on trying to free up some time. But some of the projects I've got, are not going to get there. There's just not enough time. And honestly, it takes a solid year at least, even if you've got a fair bit of time to dedicate to them. It takes a year to build a car, really. Unless you're just throwing it together, and that's not really my style to just throw it together. It's got to be fairly nice. So, yeah. But yeah, if you saw tonight's thumbnail, that's got a very cool looking Barracuda notchback in it, and it's kind of the look if my Barracuda makes it, that's probably what it'll look like. That kind of retro drag racing look. Phil Buckley, hey there, crew. Just a quick check-in on break from Workhouse Moving. Okay, well, welcome along. Glad you stopped in. Old cars and music, Circle of Death spinning on my end. Oh, that's no good, mate. I'm not sure why that would be. Rex Ferris, I was wondering if you had any advice about putting in door window weather stripping. What sort of car and which weather stripping is it? Yeah, just a little bit more like what you say. Yeah, what type of car? What part of the window weather stripping are you referring to, or all of it? Barracuda, NASCAR granted Bobby Allison a historic win just before he died a couple of days ago. Oh, hadn't heard about that. What's that? Tell me more. Don's Manufactory takes a year. My Stang took 3 years to complete. Yeah. Yeah, when I say a year, that's with quite a lot of time to dedicate it to it. That's not, Sunday afternoons. You don't get there in a year on Sunday afternoons. That's a couple of days a week at least. And I mean, like 8-hour days. What do we got? Granddad Shank, my brotherhood. Hey, brotherhood, did you get a hold of Dave with the 392 Hemi engine parts? The freight will cost more than the parts. I haven't contacted him directly. The freight would be brutal, but yeah, I do need to kind of get hold of him and see what he's got. Because I'm coming over in December, I was thinking I might be able to carry some, depending what he's got of interest. I might be something that I could carry back with me, on the plane. That's if we're not loaded to the eyeballs with, Kiwi stuff to come back. We always bring a lot of Kiwi food back, stuff we can't get here. So it's like contraband, like Kiwi contraband comes back on the planes usually. Same with if we have visitors coming over from New Zealand. My wife usually gives them a shopping list of Kiwi type food and snacks and goodies and Kiwi chocolate and stuff like that. So we'll see if there's any room left over for the Hemi stuff. Rex Farris, I have to replace some weather stripping on my doors in my 50 Plymouth two-door sedan. The old stuff was hanging on with spit and dreams where it was hanging on at all. Yeah, the weather stripping, I probably need to do a video on that. It's hard to get weather stripping to stay in place, and I have, I've developed a technique that works very well for me, and that is to try and run through it quickly. I mask out the area where the glue is going to go on the doors, where the weather strip's going to go, just slightly narrower than the actual width of the weather stripping, and I'll sand it with like an 80 grit and really scuff the paint to give the glue something to key into. I thoroughly clean the weather stripping with acetone. I think this is key. There's a lot of release agent on the rubber weather stripping, so the glue just doesn't really want to stick to it. Typically, when you see weather stripping coming off, that you'll see the glue is still on the body, but not on the rubber. So yeah, I really clean it like at least twice with acetone, like really get it wet with acetone, get it dry, and then I actually use more 80 grit sandpaper on the weather stripping itself to break the surface of the rubber up a little bit, just sand it. Just to really scratch the rubber surface, and it just allows the glue to key in a little bit more. And then another key thing is do not use the black weather stripping glue. Whatever they put, that black that they put in it to make it go black, reduces the adhesiveness of it like considerably. I would say it probably knocks 30, a third of the adhesiveness of it out of the picture, and it just doesn't stick as well. It doesn't look quite as messy, but that's why I mask the bodywork, like mask a little groove where the weather strip's going to go, and it takes a little bit longer, and you've got to be very careful putting the glue on the rubber and stuff because you don't want it where you can see it with the yellow stuff. With the black, you can be a little messier. You don't see it, but the drawback is it doesn't stick as well. So yeah. That's my advice. Use the yellow weather strip adhesive. I know you're probably not going to want to, but trust me, it glues a whole lot better. Sand the rubber, sand the paint where you're going to do it, and it'll stick. You won't get it off. It'll stick real well. Don's Manufacturing. I'm retired and worked 8 to 10 hours a day almost continuously. I must be old and slow. Wow. Yeah. Time goes by, doesn't it? And yeah, I mean, that's the reality. We do get a bit old. Well, not the reality. Yeah, we all get older, but we do definitely get slower as well. I remember working on my Mustang, the hours and the speed and the hustle on that car, getting that ready for SEMA, and I really don't think I could do it again to that same level of dedication that we had to get the car in that one. That was, 12, 14-hour days, 7 days a week for about 4 months to get that car ready for SEMA. It was brutal. Rebel with a cause. Beside a Coyote, what would be an interesting Ford engine swap for a 99 to 04 Mustang? 99 to, I can't know the body shape. What about one of the Godzilla motors? That's what I'd be tempted to put in. One of these big cubic inch Godzilla motors, because the Coyote's a little ho-hum now, like just about anything with a Ford, they're putting Coyotes in. But that Godzilla motor is, big cubic inches, big torque, and it's got some visual impact because of its sheer physical size, its presence. Like you open up the hood and people go, whoa. And that's the key reason I put the 460, the stroked 460 into my Mustang, because Coyotes were very new at that point, so they weren't that easy to get hold of, whereas a 460 was, a dime a dozen. So we got the 460, stroked it out to 5. God, what did we stroke it out to? 557. And it just looks, when you open the hood, anybody, like people don't even get it, go, whoa, that's a big engine. People that aren't car people, like it's just the engine bay on my Mustang is just chock full of engine. And that's the beauty with the Godzilla. When you open the hood, people are gonna see something they haven't really seen before. And they're starting to become a little bit more mainstream. The Godzilla motor, you can get aftermarket stuff for them. They're coming on quite fast because they've got a ton of torque. Like, I've seen the Coyotes put into slab side Lincolns and stuff like that, and for me, that's not really a good choice. The Coyote's a wonderful motor, but it's not a stump puller. It's not got bags of torque. What it does have is lots of RPMs. It makes its horsepower up the high end, well up the rev range, which is part of the reason they like being forced, having forced induction, because it brings back the mid-range torque that you can get with a supercharger. But at the end of the day, they're typically 5, maybe 5.2 litre, and you need 7 litres if you're going to be pulling something like a slab side Lincoln around. I mean, the Mustang, the Coyote is a very good option for any Mustang, really. But it's a little bit same old, and everyone likes to be a little bit different, huh? Right, Tim Miller. I use the sealer under the hood, the sealer under hood. The fenders had gummy stuff. I used AC pipe wrap called. Not sure what you're talking about there, bud. Whole cars and music. Rebel with a cause. 5.4 Triton. Oh, that the 5.4 Triton. Yeah. That's the V8. It's a Triton. Or was that the V10? Either of those engines hard to get, good competition parts for and people to work on them with all the overhead cam nonsense that they had. 6th Street Garage. Do you like Vegemite? I do not like Vegemite at all. Vegemite or Marmite, which is one's made from beef and one's made from Vegemite's made from is like a vegetable extract, and Marmite, which looks the same but has a different taste. Not that I like either of them. One's made from like a beef extract. No, not my thing at all. My wife and my kids love it, but no, it's not for me. Stray Bullet, try Godzilla. Exactly. Yeah, we're on the same page there, brother. Garth Harris. Morning, Kiwi. All the best from Aussie. Well, thanks, man. All the best to you too. Love the content. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it, man. That's what makes me keep doing it, is you guys telling me you're enjoying it. So yeah. Phil Buckley, West Oz down at Bremer Bay, just found a grapefruit-sized iron ball. Not sure, it might be an old ship ballast. Okay, not a cannonball, is it? Stray bullet, 557. Yep, that's what's in my Mustang. The KSV 9000. The 9000 is for 9 litre, which was a play on the HSV, logo. When I made it KSV, Kiwi Special Vehicles, and then instead of the 5000, like when they were the 308s and stuff, we made it 9000, 9 litre. So, Rebel with a cause. Yeah, I just hate the 2-valve 4.6, so reliable. Yeah, we built a Mustang for a customer, and he put a 3-valve 4.6 in it, and that thing went really well. It went really well. It punched well above its weight class, shall we say. It was really quite lively. And yeah, but just the aftermarket's kind of just not supporting that motor, mainly I think because the Coyote came out and just took over, because it was a leap forward in technology from the 4.6s and the 5.4s. Tim Miller, having a hard time in the shop getting my 70 Mustang door and fenders body lines. The material that was under fenders that it up 1/8 of an inch. Not really following that one, Tim. I'm sorry. Well, obviously, there's a couple of typos in there, I think. Not obviously, but I suspect there's a couple of typos. I'm guessing you might be talking about that seam seal, that black butyl kind of mastic they put between the outer fenders and the inner fenders that would kind of push the fender up a little bit. But I'm not quite sure what you're getting at there. Stray bullet. The Coyote truck engines have a little different cam profile to give them some torque. Yeah, well, cam profiles will help, but the 4-valve twin cam heads, 4-valve heads don't make a lot of torque. That's not where their strength is. Their strength is RPM, and that's why the drag racing engines are still 2-valve pushrod engines. They've messed around in drag racing with 4-valve heads, overhead cams and all that, and they messed around with them. They didn't make the torque. And they had trouble keeping the heads stable because you've got 4 holes. The ports are 4 big holes going into the combustion chamber. So you remove a lot of the meat, the beef that's in the head, and with the amount of compression and stuff that those things run. Good old 2-valve pushrod is the way to go for torque and for a drag racing engine. Chris Freemesser, Granddad's joke. They do taste different. Yes, they do. Marmite and Vegemite do taste different. Just slightly different versions of yuck. But there you go. Granddad, Chris Freemesser. I'll take your word for it. Yeah, that's probably a good plan, Chris. I would say. Yeah, I'd stick with that plan. Old cars are muted. The 6.8 was the V10. Okay, yeah. Just the Triton name threw me a little there. Barracuda, Kiwi. I've looked at a lot of photos of Plymouth Superbird and Dodge Daytona rear wings, and the wing surface appears to be flat with no angle. I don't see how they get downforce. Well, it's the profile of the wing. It's not, they don't, there is, having it leaning into the wind will give you some downforce from just wind pushing at it, but it is an inverted, like plane wing. So the bottom surface, with the shape of it, the teardrop kind of shape on one side and the lower side is what makes the air have to travel further so the air gets thinner underneath. On a plain wing, it's inverted, so the air gets thinner over the top of the wing. But you'll see the top of a wing on a plane is quite curved, and the bottom will be flat or a concave curve slightly. And so it's the airspeed differential, top and bottom of the wing that creates the lift or the downforce if you invert it. So yeah, the top of the wing on those Superbirds is pretty flat, but it's the shape of the bottom on the bottom side. That's where they get the downforce. Hope that explains it for you. I'm trying to, I haven't oversimplified it, but yeah, look at the Google, how does an aeroplane wing, produce lift? And yeah, I mean, when a plane's cruising, that wing will be flat, it'll be dead horizontal, and it's the speed difference over the wing that thins the air out, creates a negative pressure, which gives lift. When you got more pressure on the bottom of the wing than you do on the top, then you get lift. And again, inverted goes the other way. That's why they say an F1 car can drive upside down, in theory, because you've inverted the wing, you've turned it into an aeroplane wing, and that the downforce that's normally pushing an F1 car down, if it were to be upside down, that downforce would push it up and into the roof of a tunnel. But actually getting that, the math says that will work, but no, to my knowledge, no one's ever actually done it yet. Yeah, granddad's junk. It's nice with lettuce, tomatoes, and cheese. Yum yum. I just have the lettuce, tomatoes. Yeah, that'll do me. I'm not a big fan of cheese either, but I'm a bit odd like that. Cross femurs with nice lettuce, tomatoes, and cheese. Bacon. Well, absolutely, it is. Yes. John Giddens. Actually, Marmite in New Zealand contains byproducts of beer production, such as Speight's ale. Oh dear. Yes. I actually thought Speight's was quite a nice beer. Granddad's junk, good southern drink, Speight's. Yeah, it is. It's a nice beer. But wheat, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's not it is. But I mean, shit, so's Lion Red and DB and all those other kind of mainstream beers. They're not like high alcohol beers. And it's the same with Budweiser and Coors and all that here. They're a wheat beer. But you can drink quite a bit of it without getting horribly messed up. So, yeah. It serves a purpose, and by golly, they sell a lot of it. Granddad's junk. Barracuda, you're right, it's changed since the 80s. Okay. It might have got weaker than what I remember it being. It's been a while since I've had a Speight's. Been a good long while, actually. James Martin. G'day, Kiwi. Watching the Bruins Blues hockey. My Kate could care less. So I'm just dropping in. How are you, mate? Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for dropping in. Bruins, Blues hockey, ice hockey. Yeah, okay. Good on you. Granddad's junk. I prefer the old dark, a bit more chewy. Yeah, I don't mind it. I can't do stouts, like the real dark British ales. The stouts, it's like, oh. Barracuda, I thought it must be the shape of the wing. Yeah, it is. It's all about the shape, not the angle, bud. Remember too, when they made those wings on those cars, the whole idea was those wings were working at in excess, where they were designed to work was in the above 150 mile an hour zone. So the wing is tall, so it gets nice, clear, undisturbed air, but it's not big. It's not, as wings go, it's not big, but it's doing a constant, like the Talladegas and Daytonas, they were just cruising 200 mile an hour, like all the time. They didn't have to break down to 80 mile an hour for a hairpin bend like at Monaco. So yeah, the wing was designed to work in excess of 150 mile an hour and not create so much drag the damn thing couldn't go down the straights. So yeah, they don't look that big, but they made a big difference. D-Reg, D-Bajack, Pee-wee standing in for Kevin. Yeah, mate, Kevin's out in the car. I didn't have time. I was running a bit late because I messed up the title. And so I didn't have time to dash out and grab him. So he's out there in the car in the cold. But, he's made mostly of polystyrene, so he'll be all right. Dickie Farley, believe it or not, my grandma did that until COVID, ran a bar for almost 50 years and never drank when she owned the bar. Wow. Anyway, she used to own a Superbird back when it was new. I have a Polaroid of it. Oh, what a shame she didn't hang on to it and leave it to you. Yeah. Ah, gosh. Yeah, they couldn't sell those things, but now they're worth a fortune. And D-Reg D-Bajack, reason for the Boilermaker. Not sure what that's about. I don't follow you there, but Barracuda drinks Spates, lose your mates, they used to say. Oh, really? I'm not familiar with that one. That must have been after my time in New Zealand. Dickie Farley, NASA done aerodynamics for the Plymouth on the Superbird. Oh, wow. Actually, I do seem to vaguely remember that, hearing that once before. Well, I mean, especially in that era, NASA was well ahead of anyone else. Yeah, that would have been a smart move to go to them for help. Yeah, makes perfect sense, really. Old cars and music. Guinness tastes the way contact cement smells to me, anyway. Good Lord, but contact cement, that's pretty strong. Dutch Vormilk, Mick Vormick. Dutch Vorming. Hope I'm not making a mess of that. A good stout complemented with a chocolate truffle for tea time. Well, that could be a thing. Alan Shildroff, you have to be a horse to enjoy stouts. Tarbo, Kev's not real. Shock horror. Yeah, I'm afraid not, man. I'm afraid not. There's a story behind Kev. He actually I made him from scratch. My son, who was in high school at the time, had to make, I can't remember, it was something to do with some sort of social studies type class. And one of his projects was to make something, like that. They had to actually make it. I can't remember the reasons why exactly. So, it's like, okay, well, I'll help you do this. And like dads do, I took over the whole thing and basically made it while he watched. And the funny part of that story was that he got 100 on it. He looked pretty good. Kev actually looked pretty good. And the teacher kept him for a year, on display in the class. And, but yeah, that's my kind of only claim to ever getting 100 in school ever was Kev. And it was actually my son that got the 100, not me. So I kind of got the 100, but I never got credit for it. But that's my one and only ever 100 in school. So, yeah, more pointless, trivia. There you go, bit of Kiwi trivia. Chris Freeman. $10 says Kev is out joyriding in the car. Hope he doesn't drive into a bridge abutment again. Oh, that's funny. You come up with some great stories for Kev. You and him have obviously got a hotline for you to get this kind of inside information. Barracuda, downforce from an angled wing would cost some speed, I suppose. Yeah, well, I think that's why they had them fairly flat, because, they just, too much drag otherwise. I mean, any downforce will create drag. But yeah, you can certainly increase it by angling the wing up. But then, like when you look at it, the profile of it becomes, instead of that thick, it becomes that thick. You're pushing through the air, so you start to drag more and more air. Which is why in F1 now they have those, the flaps in the wings. The what is it, DRS, I think they call it, where they can actually open the flaps in the wing to reduce all the drag, and they can get another like 10 or 15 kilometers an hour down the straights, or when they're trying to, overtake, that kind of thing. Because they produce a huge amount of downforce. But they got so many vanes. Like, you look at an F1 wing, and there'll be, 4 or 5 layers of the wing. It's almost like the old triplanes of World War One, just wing on wing on wing stacked, and the downforce is massive. Dickie Farley, I bought the last cool old fast car my grandma had, which was a 77 L82 4-speed Corvette. Oh, nice. Nice. Yeah, that would be, is that still around, Dickie, or is that long gone? D-Rec Jack, more alcohol and weaker beers. How does that work? Chavo, only fair Chrysler did engineering for NASA. Oh, my God. Well, yeah, I mean, they got to the moon, so, Man, I was watching some, Tavo, I was watching some, the old, the historical Aussie touring cars. What did they call it? There was, I think it was, there's a name for the class, but it's old 60s and 70s Aussie muscle cars. Well, all sorts. They had Camaras in there, Comets, Mercury Comets. But man, that was some great racing. There was a cool old Valiant in there, like a late-ish 60s Valiant. That with the 265 Pacer. It was a Valiant Pacer, but the square-bodied one, not the VH, the one before that. I think it was. I forget. The memory's going on the letters, the letter, for the different models. But yeah, it would have been in like 67, 68, 69 around there, Valiant 4-door Pacer with the 265 Hemi in it. That was giving the V8s a run for its money. That was going really well. It was the front end of the field. It was going great. I couldn't believe the cars they were wrecking. Like, they were trying hard, and there was old Tiranas and old Chargers and some GTHO Falcons and stuff like that, like high dollar cars, and they were just driving them like stock cars, man, just banging and crashing, and it was great viewing, though, great to watch. Barracuda and DB was a girl's beer. No, that was Lion Red, mate, was the girl's beer. Barracuda, I like Foster's. Man, I threw away the last few cans of Foster's I had here. I bought some for some Australians that I knew that we know that live here. So I saw some Foster's in a bottle store here and bought it, and they're like, Australians don't drink Foster's, that's shit, And I'm like, oh, okay, great, So it sat in the fridge, and eventually it kind of went past its use-by date, and out it went. But it used to be hugely popular beer, but I get the feeling it's not that popular anymore. D-Reg, a Boilermaker is when you drop a shot of whiskey in a beer. I thought it was a depth charge. You call it a Boilermaker too. I've heard that being called a depth charge, but not a Boilermaker. Okay. Probably the same thing, different name, yeah. Chris Freemus, Chrysler designed the M1 Abrams tanks. Well, there you go. Barracuda, the Chaparral Can-Am cars had high wing that was angle adjustable from the cockpit. Yeah, you were allowed to do that in certain classes of racing. Certain classes you weren't allowed adjustability from inside. You weren't. Cameron Tilley, that's it. Touring Car Masters. Yep, that's it. You got it, Tavo. That's what I was watching. Yeah, Touring Car Masters, and yeah, the VF Pacer, by Cameron Tilley, or the name. Now that you say it, I remember, because I was just watching it last weekend, and it was great to watch. Like it's good racing. I thought good racing. Tavo, race them or waste them. Well, that was certainly the the kind of mantra of everyone racing them. They were going hard. It's like it'd be like the value of the cars that were in those races for the American guys that are watching that maybe not realise what some of these Aussie muscle cars are worth. It'd be like racing and banging panels in like an SS3, not a genuine, an LS7, whatever they were, LS7, Chevelle 454 SS, against a Dodge Daytona with a wing, like it's cars like that just smashing into each other. It's like, oh my goodness. But yeah, they were having a blast, and the fans were loving it. So, it's a lot of race cars are $500,000 plus these days. So I guess they're a bit more irreplaceable, the old touring car, those old touring cars. But if you've got the budget, you can fix anything if you bend it. Barracuda, that Pacer has a NASCAR V8 now. Oh, that's almost a shame. I liked it, the fact that it had the six-banger in it. So they can do that in that class. They can go to a V8. Tavo, Aussies don't drink it. Truth. Yeah, Fosters, no. You don't seem to drink it anymore. Dickie Farley, still have it, keep it in crappy garage. Once I bought it off grandma and took out of her garage, but it's still garage kept, has basically its whole life, and it's got a little over 77,000 original miles. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Good stuff. Blue Hill Cemetery. I used to see an octogenarian woman here in Braintree driving a 440 Super B, shades of a little old lady from Pasadena. Yeah, she was an octogenarian and still drove? That's amazing. And a car like that, really? That's wow. Australians don't drink Fosters, and none of them have ever barbecued any shrimp. That's funny. There's some truth to that, I feel. That is a very famous catchphrase, though. Throw another shrimp on the barbie, which is a grill here, by the way. Old cars and music. Barracuda, would you believe Foster's in North America is brewed in Canada? I did not know that. I did not know that. Huh. Is it still made in Aussie? I know we're kind of poking fun at Foster's, but do any Australians still drink it? Is it? I mean, it used to be the Foster's Grand Prix. Like they used to sponsor Formula One, which is a big deal. Like that's to be the event name sponsor on a Formula One race, you're pouring a lot of money in it. So at some point, they must have been making a lot of money, Foster's. So yeah, I'm not sure what's happened to them. M. Patterson, driver 61 is building a car to drive upside down in a tunnel. Well, yeah. I mean, it'd be awesome to see. I think it's doable, but I mean, the hardest bit about doing that is the transition, like up the wall and upside down, would be the hardest part of that, I believe. Not actually losing control while making that maneuver, with the G forces involved, and yeah, that would take a little bit of driving skill to pull that one off. Tavo, Tilly's Pacer got crashed very badly a couple of years ago. Big rebuild on that. Got rear-ended by Camaro. Okay. So how scarce is something like a V8 four-door sedan body these days. Like is that something he was able to go and get, just another body and like reshell it, or are they even just the 4-door sedans pretty scarce now? They love Fosters in England. Okay, yeah, well that's the Brits for you. Oh, end of time. I had some old full beer cans from the 70s in the back of my car, and someone took and drank them. Really? And lived to tell the tale. The beer goes bad, man. Wow. That must have been awful. Barracuda, I've been binge watching the Touring Car Masters lately. Best racing ever, I think. Yeah. Well, I can't say I've been binge watching. I only kind of stumbled on it since Bathurst this year, because I was trying to watch it on YouTube, and the Touring Car Masters was popping up. So, and I watched a couple of little highlights packages, and now I've been watching the whole races. It's great viewing, and there's a lot to watch because it's been going on for years now. It was just there was me just oblivious to it. It's kind of good now. I got something to watch and catch up on. So. Tavo, Foster's Grand Prix was to attract international viewers. Okay. Dutch Vormik, Asahi Group Holdings Limited, a Japanese company, owns Foster's. Oh, really? I drink quite a bit of Asahi. I like Asahi beer. I do quite like Asahi, but yeah, Foster's, I definitely take or leave it. But Sixth Street Garage, worst beer ever, Billy Beer. Never had Billy Beer. Never had Billy Beer. Tavo, ask the right people, you can find the bits. A friend of mine supplied a complete rear cut to pick apart. Huh. Okay. Yeah, they must be getting thin on the ground now. Amazing to think they were a dime a dozen. Even, I mean, Tavo, you'd probably remember the HQ racing. Did they do the HQ racing in Australia? I know it was big in New Zealand for a while. The HQ was a Holden, which was an Australian GM product, which was a 4-door sedan. They had a 202 cubic inch 6-cylinder engine. Some of them had V8s, but a lot of them had the 202 cubic inch 3-speed manual on the column, and they made a whole racing class out of HQs, and it was just HQ racing. And you had to have the 3-speed column change, manual transmission. The motors were very restricted on what you could do to them. There wasn't any hand porting of the heads. You could do some machine work inside the portings of the head, but yeah, very limited. So that power was pretty equal, and that was a very popular class for a few years. And yeah, the number of HQs that got spat out, like chewed up and spat out in that class of racing, because it was so even on power. The only way you really got to the front was just dive bombing. The only way to pass was like, out braking somebody. So yeah, there was a lot of races ended in tears. A lot of HQs were destroyed. But yeah, now there was a time when HQs you could buy for $500, $800 for an HQ. Now I don't think you can buy a Fender for that much anymore. Barracuda. Queenslanders can't spell beer, so they just use 4X. Yeah, that's an old joke, that one. But yeah, very, very apt. Tavo, first weekend every October, I YouTube 60s, 70s Bathurst races. No V8 stupid cars for me. Okay. Okay, so you put that up on your channel, Tavo. Is that what you mean, first weekend every October? Or you watch it on YouTube? 60s and 70s, that was an amazing time. Mark one called Tina's and stuff like that in the 60s. A real some diverse styles and makes of cars back then. It was good times. Now the supercars are just, tube frame, full-on race cars with the skin of a production car wrapped around them. Being now the Camaros and the Mustangs. It's really kind of lost the Aussie flavour now with going to Camaros and Mustangs. It's a shame. But I mean, what could they do? You guys stopped making the cars. So hard to race a car that doesn't exist. It was a real shame. It's lost a little bit of its. I mean, it's still good racing because they try very hard. It's a hard racing. But yeah, it was better when it was Commodores and Falcons. But yeah. Stray Bullet used to enjoy Sapporo beer. Yep, that was a nice beer too. The other one I like is Kirin. Kirin's another Japanese beer, and Korean, one of those two. That's a nice drop. Yeah. Derek, President Jimmy Carter's brother made Billy beer. Oh, okay, didn't know that. Tava, HQ racing was huge down here for a while. They've now relaxed the rules too much. Like everything, it was the same 202 3-speed on the tree. It was great racing, and it was affordable for a while until the big wallets arrive and see a class that they can win in, the guys with the big money, and then just throw a checkbook at it and kind of spoil it for everyone else. That's happened so many times over the years with circuit racing. End of time. Pee Wee Herman is on my shoulder. I stuck him up on the couch there. Yeah, that was actually completely unintentional. But yeah, he does kind of wrong shoulder. He does kind of look like a parrot sitting on my shoulder here. John Giddings, only one VF hardtop coupe with a 360 on trade. We going $75K. Wow. See, you can buy, like Dodge Swingers and stuff like that, hardtops here. But, well, I mean, Uncle Tony just sold one recently, didn't he? I don't know what he got for it in the end. I didn't kind of watch it enough. But I know he was doing a 2 or 3 videos on selling it. And it was certainly nowhere near 75,000. I know that much. I'm pretty sure it was under $5,000 or around there. But it's not a Valiant. So what's the value of or the equivalent, American equivalent to a VF hardtop coupe in Australia? Like if you took one from here to Australia, would it be fetching that 75K mark? Barracuda, I think there's still HQ racing in Aussie. Oh, well, really? I'm surprised they haven't run out of HQs. They were rust buckets. It was hard to find. Gosh, 30 years ago, it was hard to find an HQ that wasn't seriously rusty. Rebel with a cause. Whatever happened to regular Michelob, not Michelob Ultra? Good beer you can't find anywhere. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, Michelob had a few different ones, and some of them were quite nice. Stray Bullet, R.I.P. Billy. There you go. Tavo, in 1980, I bought my first VG Pacer for $500. 2 years later, I bought a 4-barrel track pack for $500. That was a 4-barrel intake, wasn't it, that you were referring to? 4-barrel to go on the 265. Oh, okay. I just watched the old Bathurst races on YouTube. Yeah, it's not a bad plan. Not a bad plan. Somebody I was, I can't remember who it was. But they were saying that every Saturday they watch, not every Saturday. Once a month on a Saturday, they'll watch one of the old Bathurst races. They'll just dig it up, off of YouTube or somewhere, and watch one of the old Bathurst races on a Saturday. It's like, that's not a bad idea. Stray bullet. Billy would have voted for Trump and cancelled out his brother's vote. Oh, good Lord. Those were the days, Tavo Barracuda, yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't want to become one of those old guys that says back in the good old days or back in my day it was better, but I don't know. It really does seem that way. That for all the progress and stuff is like some of that old racing was really good, which I guess is why they have classes like touring car masters that are popular. There was something good about the formula that they had, that all the different cars and cars that had steel doors that opened, and you didn't, the touring cars, the Aussie supercars, you can, they're just on pins, they're fiberglass doors, and you can just lift them off and put them to one side, and they're not really cars. They're like space frame buggies with a carbon fiber body over them, and I don't know. I like, there's something about racing a real car, but maybe I'm just showing my age. Four-door VG Pacer down here, very good resto, went for 160 Ks. Wow. Yeah. Rare car though. Rare car. Derek Debajak, I wonder if there'd be any customers for right hand to left hand conversions. Yeah, not sure about that. For right hand to left hand. Oh, okay. That 4-barrel was a complete VG Pacer track pack car. Oh, wow. Bathurst special. And you bought that whole car for $500. Good grief. Bet you wish you still had it, buddy. Fleetwood. Hey, man. Welcome along. Welcome along. D-Rec, my buddy drank up all the Michelob. Oh, good Lord. Barracuda, for me with Bob Jane's Tirana, that was lightened to the max with a Repco Can-Am V8 and a Superbird type wing, a real weapon apparently. No, I can't say I am. Can't say I am. What was that, like a sports sedan car? That can't have been running in Aussie touring cars like that. John Giddings on Trade Me Race Spec Holden HQ imported to New Zealand from Oz. 6 bang and 3 on the tree going for 11k. Okay, well, 11k is not a lot of money, really. And that's all set up for racing. That's pretty cheap motor racing, I think. Pop's Mustang Shop last month at the International Motorsports Hall of Fame with the Aero Warrior reunion. I saw 35 wing cars, Plymouth and Dodgers 69 to 70. Oh, wow. That's a lot in one spot at one time. That would have been cool. Chris Freemesser, yeah, I suspect most of us are up there in age, so yeah, old cars rule, new cars suck. Yeah, it's funny watching. I just remember being like 25 and listening to, I guess, guys my age or maybe even younger, kind of lamenting the old days. And here am I, all of us kind of doing the same thing, like several decades later. It's funny how history repeats itself. And what are the 25-year-olds today going to be saying about, today's Mustangs versus the new cars in 2000 and what, 50, hopefully they're not all electric. Stray bullet. Every country except for Britain, Australia, New Zealand, and Japan, D-Rec. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Okay, stray bullet. No, yep. So yeah, every country, Britain, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, they're all right-hand drive, and Singapore too, I think, is right-hand drive, if I remember correctly. Barracuda in the early 90s, I had a VG Pacer hardtop. Back then, it was hard to sell. Isn't that just insane? My mum had a was about a VG, I think, around about that mark. Valiant Regal two-door hardtop, and that had. Now I might be wrong on the VG because that had the 225 sloper engine in it, slant six, but it was that square body Pacer body style, and but it was a Valiant Regal. Tavo, true. Barracuda worth much more to part out. Oh, wow, really? Andy Nickel, hey, Kiwi, how's things tonight? Things are good. Things are going well. We've it's a smaller crowd tonight than usual, but that's okay. I have actually been wondering, guys, and you can give me some feedback, which I would appreciate. Like the numbers on the lives have been kind of steadily, like just dropping a little bit. And I'm kind of wondering whether I'm doing too many. Is it something that, I mean, are you guys keen to do this once a week, or would it be like maybe twice a month, something like that? Or maybe a little shorter time instead of 2 hours, maybe a little bit less. I don't know. Give me some feedback. Like, I don't want it to get boring for you guys. So I do have to do a bit of work on trying to get some guests, something, just the one-on-one kind of thing is that's why guys like Tony, lots of people have guests on there, because that interaction between the 2 or 3 people on screen does add a bit of entertainment value. So yeah, your thoughts on that, I'd be open to. 6th Street Garage, Kiwi. Are you familiar with Junior Johnson? Yeah, I know the name quite well. Yeah, he was quite the character. Big name back in the day, and lots of he was certainly a key figure in NASCAR. Tavo, Pacer hardtops down here now. Basket cases that Kiwi would have reservations about fixing. Wow, started around 8K. Yeah. You can buy a hardtop, Mopar, that kind of body shape here, be it a swinger or whatever. $8,000 will get you a bunch of them, and not great, but not bad at all. So certainly a lot cheaper here, but they don't have the following here. The A body Mopars here are just not as popular. Actually, edit that. Any Valiant hardtop, genuine Pacers start around 29K. Wow. Phew. Yeah, who's the other right-hand? Russia's right-hand drive too, believe it or not. Russia import a lot of second-hand cars from Japan, along with New Zealand. Australia doesn't import many from Japan, but New Zealand imports a lot from Japan, like used ones. Oops, bump the computer. Sorry, guys. They import a lot of used Japanese cars into New Zealand, Russia. Russia takes a lot of them. There's a few other countries as well. There's a few island nations around the place, like the Samoas and places like that are some of those are right-hand drive. I'm not 100% sure on those ones. Glenn Nickerson, how you doing, buddy? My wife and I are going new car shopping Thursday, and I'm dreading it. Her last new car was a 93 Honda. Wish we still had that Honda now. Oh, good Lord. Well, that's a long time between drinks, mate. 20, what is that, 30 years? Um, 30 years since she had her last new car. Wow, keeping her. That's a long time, buddy. Dickie Farley, yes, more likes, please. Yes, hit that like button. It helps. It helps me to kind of help you guys. So yeah, that would be cool if you could. John Giddens, do you remember the right-hand drive Rambler, Rebel, and Classic sold in New Zealand and assembled in teams? Yes, I do. I do remember those. Yeah, I actually, well, I don't remember them being assembled in teams. I didn't realize that. I know they were new right-hand drive. They weren't converted, but I didn't realize they were assembled in teams. But yeah, they sold a few of those in New Zealand. Not a bad old car, really. Barracuda, once a week, I say. Well, thanks, man. Tavo, I'd be here for the full live once a week, every week, except that I'm normally at work when you're on. Yeah, sorry about that, man. I'm going to try and do a live when I'm back in New Zealand, at New Zealand Aussie time, and yeah, we'll see how many of our American viewers tune in at that time of day. So, but yeah, that's the least I can do, I think. Dickie Farley, once a week is probably a good number to do your live. Okay, I think the time you normally spend doing your live feed is good. Okay, well, that's good. That's good. Stray Bullet wouldn't change a thing. Well, well, thanks, guys. Barracuda, Hemi Dart would be cool to own. That's a lot of engine in a small engine bay. But yeah, it would be. Sixth Street Garage, the AMC Pacer in the US was a joke. Mexican Spec's got one he's trying to sell it right now, a really good-looking restored AMC Pacer out of Mexico. And he doesn't want that much for it. I think it was 11 grand or something like that. It wasn't all that much. And yeah, okay, I know it's a Pacer. I mean, I'd have a Pacer, and I did make noises about wanting to buy one. I actually went and looked at one at one point, but it was just too rusty. But I don't know, they're just so ugly. They're cool. Yeah, and it'd just be one of those things that if you were driving it around just as a daily hack around driver type thing, you would get noticed in a Pacer. So yeah, it'd be kind of as much as a laugh as anything. But yeah, they weren't. They're not going to go down in history as one of the top 10 cars of all times. No, they're not. But most people, any car guy will know exactly what it is. Know of them, been in one, seen one. Like, yeah, they're like it or not, they're kind of iconic. Which is why I'd have one. I'd have one tomorrow if the right one came my way. But yeah, but for more of the humor of it, just for the hell of it, like just because they are so gotta. I mean, it'd be one of those things. If I had one, I'd be always trying to encourage Mrs. Kiwi to come out in it, knowing full well she would refuse point blank to be seen in it. So, but that would just make me want to ask her to come out in it more often. So, Tavo, one bonus we have with the VF VG Valiant hardtop is availability of body parts from the US. Yeah, they were actually dart panels, unlike the Aussie 4-doors, which differ quite a bit from the US model. Oh, really? I didn't realise that. Okay. Yeah, the darts here are pretty cheap. You can pick up a scruffy drivable dart for probably 3-4 grand. And even really nice ones don't. They don't. I can't think of seeing one that has top 20 grand. Even a really nice one with a tricky engine and all that sort of stuff. They just don't pull the money. And it's the same with that, like 67 Barracuda, 67, 68. They do not fetch the money that the like 70s Barracudas go for. They fetch big money. But the 67 8s, no. And then the 66s are even less. But yeah. Stray Bullet, Russians drive on the right side of the road. Yep. They do. Right side of the road. I'm getting mixed up between right-hand drive and right side of the road. Right-hand drive drives on the left side of the road. I thought the Russians drove on the left side of the road. Interesting. Stray Bullet, I like those Gremlins. Yeah, they're cool little cars, the Gremlins. There's quite a few of those getting modified here. They're quite popular as drag cars because they're little, and especially wheelie cars. Like they like making those into wheel standers. Because they got so little overhang at the back, you can really hoist the front wheels into the air if you got the power without dragging the back on the ground. Andy Nickel. Okay. I like what you're doing. Maybe start with a few topics, plus guests will be good. Okay. All right. I can work on that. Chris Freemason. My father had a V8 Gremlin back in the day, so nose heavy that it kept doing 360s trying to stop in the snow. He got rid of it pretty fast. Yeah, I'll bet he did. Pop's Mustang shop. My brother bought a 2006 Pontiac GDO, which is a Holden. The 6206 GDO. That would be the Holden Monaro, and they put it back to Holden Monaro spec. Detroit people know cars, and they loved it every time he drove it. Yeah, I bet they did. Dickie Farley, Kiwi, one thing you could try if you want is to bring a friend of yours on the live that knows cars. It does give other subjects and a break of the monotony up of you having to think of what to talk about. Yeah. I tell you what, it's by the time I've done this live, and trust me guys, I'm not looking for sympathy at all, don't get me wrong. It's quite, I finished this and like you're kind of worn out. Like you're thinking, I'm trying to read the questions and I'm trying to give you a semi-intelligent answers as best I can. And by the time you've gone through 2 hours, I'm fairly worn out. You know, it's like I'm off upstairs into bed and I'm done. It's harder than you might think. But I say no sympathy. It's also fun. I enjoy doing it. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. But yeah, I didn't quite realize. Like when I've done it with Tony, it's always been me and Tony. So you've got a little break. You're kind of bantering between the two of you, or but when it's just solo, it really did surprise me how much more demanding it was. Barry Cooter, you do know that Dodge produced some Hemi darts, Kiwi? No, I didn't actually. I didn't realise they did. I didn't think they managed to squeeze the Hemi into a dart. Okay. Not really a Mopar. Well, I mean, I do like Mopars, but I'm not as informed on them as some other vehicles, Shouldn't surprise me, really. They managed to shoehorn, Mopar were the masters of shoehorning big engines into little cars. They were always up to, trying to make something a bit crazy. Stray Bullet, no, right side of the road. Okay, it's interesting because I was under the belief that Russia imported a lot of cars from Japan, which their right-hand drive set up to drive on the left side of the road. So yeah, that's I'm not sure where I've got my wires crossed there. Clean Nickerson depends how much vodka they've had. What the potato crop was like that year. Yeah. Chris Freemason, watch Garage 54. All of the larders, they mess with a left-hand drive. So they drive on the right side of the road. Okay, I haven't watched Garage 54. So Harry Cooter, Russians drive on whatever side they like. Well, yeah. Stray Bullet, I like those 401X Gremlins. Yeah, they were a tricky little muscle car. They really were. And the Javelin, the Javelin had a was it the Javelin? Yeah, the Javelin had a 390 4-speed version. Those things were pretty lively too. They did a bit of Trans Am racing with those. Chris Freemasser in Russia, the road drives on you. Oh, good Lord. Chris Freemasser, we're doing a 1 hour stream each week. Be better for you. I mean, it's really, as I said, I wasn't wanting to sound like I was complaining or angling to do it for less. I mean, we're coming, we've been going an hour and 35 now. So, yeah, I was just saying that it is a little bit tiring, and it kind of surprised me. But it's really about just doing a format that keeps you guys entertained, because, what I don't want to do is sit here and talk to myself, So, yeah, I mean, if you guys are getting a kick out of it and enjoying it, then, 2 hours it is. So, yeah. I may reserve the right to, cut it back to an hour and a half if I had a tough day. But, yeah, we'll see. Tavo, it is exhausting, Kiwi. I tried a few, might work better with a second person, as you say. Yeah, it's an interesting concept. You got to also get that right person. I've got a couple of, Kevin Tates has said he's going to come and do, excuse me, that's the bourbon. Kevin Tates has said he's going to come and do one with me, at least one. See how that goes. I think that'll be an interesting show, because me and Kevin, our senses of humour kind of mesh. So that should be quite entertaining. And I'm hoping to get Tommy Boschers from RTM Productions. I'm hoping he'll do one with me. Tommy is just an absolute hoot. He's a nut job, but very funny with it, and he's such a good old boy. But yeah, we hang out a little bit and we have a lot of laughs. So hopefully that would come across on screen. But he'd be a good one. But he does have some limitations on what he can do social media wise with his work at RTM and muscle cars and that. So he's got to he's got to work through that little minefield. Dickie Farley, that's what Tony always said. The keeping up with the chat is the hardest, and that's why he has Kathy stay on it, and he can just talk about whatever she reads. Yeah, they got a good little system going there on their Sunday night lives. Yeah, for sure. Tony's lucky having Kathy, because Kathy knows a lot about cars as well. So, like, I can get Mrs. Kiwi to do it, but like she would have trouble deciphering some of the comments and questions that are on there. Like she not enough of a car person to kind of do what Kathy does. Kathy's lives and breathes cars, similar to Tony. Andy Nickel, my sister had an early 80s Mustang, fun car to drive, but totally useless in the winter. My sister wouldn't let me drive it after I lit up the tyres. Fair enough. Yeah. She probably saw 1,000 miles of driving going up in smoke. So, yeah. Barracuda an hour is not enough of you, Kiwi. Well, thank you for saying that, mate. As long as it's staying entertaining, that's all good. I just thought I'd run it by you guys and see. So, Josh Homan, Sweden used to drive on the left side of the road despite having left-hand drive cars. They switched over to the right side in the late 60s. I didn't know that. Huh. Barracuda, there's a lot of accidents in New Zealand from tourists driving on the wrong side of the road. I tell you what, mate, it's easy to do. It's easy to do. It was problematic when I first got here, remembering which side of the road to drive on. And last time I was back in New Zealand, I'd completely flipped in that it was hard to remember how I should be driving in New Zealand. And it's not, it's not sitting at the traffic lights or at a busy intersection in town or something like that. That's not when you get messed up. It's more quieter roads, quieter driving, and like you'll pull out of a rest stop, or you pull out of somewhere and you're not really thinking, and you just get out of habit, you go to the wrong side of the road. And if there's no other cars around you, in your peripheral vision that you see are going on the right or the left side of the road, depending where your issue is, it's easy to just not think and be heading up the road on the wrong side of the road. I was in New Zealand. Last time I was in New Zealand, was looking for a place, and I went to an area where they were doing some roadworks, and it was like the wrong way. So I turned around and came back, and I went the wrong way around the roundabout, and started to head up the road, and there's a car coming towards me, and it's like, what the hell? And then I realized it was me that was completely in the wrong. This guy's looking at me like I'm a freaking lunatic. And he was justified, like I was getting ready to cause an accident, but yeah, it's when you're not thinking, because there wasn't any other cars around me, and I was thinking about where I was trying to get to. The fact that I'd gone the wrong way and I was trying to get somewhere else, I was thinking about what I needed to do to get where I was going, and not thinking about which side of the road I was on, and I had it completely wrong. So that's what happens, and it happens a lot in New Zealand, where they, the tourists will stop at a little tourist, lookout somewhere, and then they'll pull back onto the road, and they'll just go back to their what's normal for them side of the road, if they're American tourists. And next thing you know, there's a head-on collision, and lives have been lost due to that. And you see a lot of rental cars now in New Zealand have an arrow inside, pointing to which side of the road you should go on. And yeah, it's when habit takes over that the accidents happen. I mean, the first 12 months that I was in the States, I would, once a week, I'd get into the wrong side of the car. I'd be distracted. I'd be thinking about something, focusing on what I was trying to get done, or where I was going to go. And I'd just walk up, I'd open the door, and I'd jump in, and there's no steering wheel. And it's kind of funny, but yeah, it's when you're not paying attention. When you're distracted just a little, not wildly distracted, but just enough that that kind of left part of your brain, or whichever side it is, kind of takes you onto autopilot. And yeah, it's scary stuff. And I'm a little concerned about heading back to New Zealand in December. I'm going to have to really make sure that when I pull out, and the same with the wife, that you go to the right side of the road, or the left side of the road. Yeah. Chris Freemas, a Barracuda, I can believe it. I live in fear of ever having to drive on the left side of the road. Yeah, it's confusing, and quite why I don't know. Somebody might be able to chime in here. I'm not quite sure why certain countries, went to the left side of the road, and other countries went to the right side of the road. And I mean, England and Europe are like, England is part of Europe, but yeah, they're different, and I'm not sure. And England famously, like if you ever watched the old Top Gear, when Jeremy Clarkson, he would always make fun of the rest of the world that drove on the wrong side of the road, because in their opinion, you should be driving on the left side of the road, or Jeremy's opinion, and everyone else was wrong. But I'm not sure what the history behind it is. James Martin, thanks for another fine show. Well, thank you, sir. Glad you enjoyed it. Stray Bullet. Britain once considered changing to drive on the right side, but it was going to be way too expensive to change all of the road markings. Yeah. Which there's a lot to it. Every set of traffic light would have to be, like uprooted, moved, rewired, everything. Like, it's huge. And off ramps and on ramps from motorways or interstates, all kind of work wrong. Changing that would be massive. Don's Manufacturing. Holy crap! Ads running every 3 minutes. Really? I don't see the ads, so I didn't. Because I've got it set to moderate. I hate to think how often they're going to run if you sit it on, because you can select like low, moderate, or high, high rate of ads. If it's every 3 minutes, the high rates must be like every minute. Wow, I might have to change that. That 3 minutes is that's a lot of ads to sit through. Yeah, but I'd say I don't get to see the ads at all. So yeah, I really wasn't aware of that. Sorry about that, guys. Chris Freemasser, switch to a web browser like Brave, no ads. Okay. Accidents involving tourists here just because they can't drive, regardless of which side they're on. Yeah, there's some truth to that. Yeah, New Zealand has quite a high population of Asian drivers, and they, I guess I'm, treading on thin ice a little bit, but the reality is they don't have a great reputation for their driving skills. Yeah, John Giddens, remember painted arrows on roads in New Zealand? Oh, yeah, absolutely. I remember painted arrows on the roads, yeah. Yep. Barry Cuda, I had a fright once overtaking a line of slow cars up a hill in my 2-litre VL Commodore. I didn't have the power, and I had upset some people coming downhill. Never again. Oh, dear. Yeah, you got to watch that. And a crazy thing, they put a little baby 2-litre 4-cylinder on a Holden Commodore, which is, it was a big car in New Zealand, Australia standards, but even in the States here, that's a medium, a little, on the large side of a medium-sized car. And just to put a little 2-litre 4-cylinder in it was not enough. They were gutless. John Gannon, seen on film with the world's fastest Indian, where Sir Anthony Hopkins' character buys a second-hand car. Not sure which, but yeah, the great movie, but I'm not quite sure what you're referring to in the. It's been a while since I've seen it. It's been a couple of decades probably since I've seen it, and I see it up on. I think it's on Netflix now. World's Fastest Indian. I should watch it again, really. Josh Homan, the British Commonwealth comprises most of the left lane drive countries. The main exception is Japan. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, well, the British Commonwealth certainly controlled a lot of countries at one point. Stray bullet. It all has to do with riding horses, and most people wore their swords on their right-hand side, so they began riding on the left side of the road. Huh. Good Lord. Well, that's a bit of information I'd never heard of before. But yeah, that it stands to reason that that it would be something like that, a hangover from the horse and cart days. Andy Nichols saying the same thing. It came from horse trails where they would ride on the left side to have their sword arm ready, assuming right-handed. Okay, so they would come towards each other right hand to right hand, and yeah, with the majority of people being right-handed, they'd have their sword in their right hand. Okay, interesting. Well, there had to be a reason, so that's interesting to know. Dickie Farley, I might get an ad when I click on your video to first start watching, but usually I don't get another ad during your whole life. Once in a while I might get one ad in the middle of your life. Okay. Well, I wonder what's going on every 3 minutes. That's curious. Because since I started doing YouTube, I do the YouTube Premium. So, which cuts out the ads as well. So even if I go back and watch my own live, I won't see the ads. Interesting. Huh. Interesting. John Giddens, he can't remember what side to drive on. Not sure who you're referring to there. Barry Cooter, it was the Nissan 2 litre in that Commodore. That's right, they did. They ran. That was a 6-cylinder 2 litre, wasn't it? If I remember, or was it a 4-banger? They had a 3 litre Nissan engine in the Commodores for a while. And did they have the 2 litre 6-cylinder? Was that the 6-cylinder, the 2 litre version? Dutch Vormik. I think Americans went to the right side of the road and left side steering to keep other vehicles from splashing their passengers in the early 1900s. Okay. Tavo VL across the ditch, an Aussie, had the Nissan 3 litre as the base. I'm pretty sure that the Commodore in New Zealand came with a 3 litre as an option, but they had a 2 litre as well. Because there was a mentality that the smaller engine, the more miles per gallon that you could achieve, which wasn't really true because the little engine struggled more, so you needed more throttle to make them go. So they ended up actually, underpowered and relatively heavy on gas because they were always working really hard. They kind of figured their way around that now. That's why 5-litre V8 Mustangs and stuff are getting 30 to the gallon, 30 something to the gallon, because they got over 400 horse, and wherever they go, they're doing it easy. So the mileage, and same with the Camaros and stuff with the LSs, and they're capable of quite good mileage if you're not hard up it. If you're using all that 400 and something horse, then you'll use some gas for sure. Barry Cooter, the Nissan 3-litre is very sought after now, I hear. Really? Barry Cooter, yes, Kiwi is 6-cylinder 2-litre. Which, what a disaster of an engine. 6-cylinder, like 2-litre is too small for 6 cylinders. You've got 6 very small pistons, and it kills your torque. A 2-litre 4 does make more torque than a 2-litre 6-cylinder. It's just 6-cylinder 2-litre will rev a lot harder, but it won't make the torque that a 4-banger would. So that was kind of just a dumb move, really. But it's kind of what they did back then. Max level. Kiwi, what sword would you recommend to brandish from the window of my 65 Dart? A big one. That's what I would recommend. A really big sword. Quite long. That would be my recommendation. Yes. Tavo, 3 engine options, and I was 3-litre, 3-litre turbo, and 5-litre V8. Yeah, we had the 5 litres. Did we have the 3-litre turbo? No, I'm not sure. Can't really remember. Stray bullet. 10-speed transmissions really help with the fuel mileage. Yeah, they do. And it's funny. It's funny how engineering and the way they're designing and seeing cars these days. I mean, they used to put the power glide in, for fuel economy, because there was a thing, the less gears they had, the less often you'd be revving up a gear and changing down and changing up and dropping the revs and rev through the gear and then drop. The less times you did that, they figured you got more miles to the gallon. And it's really shown out that the more times you change gear and just build revs a little bit and always just be change, they go up a gear and drop 500 RPM, go up a gear, drop another 500, is the way to get good mileage. And it's just completely 180. I mean, the old Ford, the mid-60s Ford transmission, the 3-speed C4, they call them the green dot transmission, where they would, in normal drive, it would take off in second and just use second and third and never use low gear. And that was done for more miles to the gallon, and it actually did the opposite. You got less miles to the gallon. If you used the low gear and made it easier for the engine to get, the 3,000 pound car rolling, it used less gas. And they have figured it out now, but back in the 60s, they really lost their way with that. Power Glide and the green dot Ford transmissions, and it was. Yeah, now we look back and go, yeah, that was a bit dumb, guys. But they were doing their best. They were, that was the knowledge they had in the day. But yeah, 10-speed, they may have gone a little bit over the top with 10 gears. They're always trying to decide what gear they need to be in. And some of that comes down to the computer programming too. But 6-speed seems to work very well. 8-speed's pretty good. 10-speed, I've heard. I haven't driven a Ford 10-speed, but I've heard a lot of people ragging on them and saying that they never seem to be able to decide what gear to be in. Now the Audi I've got, that's 8-speed auto, and that's just don't even think about it. It always seems to be in the right gear. And that's an 8-speed, so maybe it's electronics on the Fords rather than the extra 2 gears. Not really sure. Chris Freemesser, Stray Bullet. What was Stray Bullet saying? Oh, okay. Stray Bullet. So do CVTs, but that doesn't mean I want one. Yeah, CVTs have kind of gone out of vogue. Well, no, that's not really fair. They're still making it. Like Subaru still has a CVT, in the new vehicles. The early CVTs were not great. Mopar Man 78, howdy folks. Mate, we got 3 minutes to go. I mean, I'm really glad that you're here. Better late than never and all that. But yeah, 3 minutes to go. We don't get time to kind of interact too much. But hey, glad you're here. That's the main thing. Stray Bullet, CVTs are bad. Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that one. Yeah, not a fan of CVTs. They're I don't know. Maybe I haven't driven one for a long time, to be fair. But yes, the ones I have driven, 10 years ago, were not good. They just, not good. Andy Nickel, remember the old Suzuki 1-cylinder bikes? Used to drive single-cylinder John Deere tractors, doing road work. Bang, bang, bang. Gosh, I remember. Going to school, one of the other guys at school had a Royal Enfield, which I think was a 500cc single. And I always remember it, like we had a long hill headed up to the school we went to school at, and this thing would just come along the flat, duck, 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 like, I don't know what it revved to, but it wasn't very much. It was a low revving torque monster, and he'd just go up this winding hill, and I swear the RPMs didn't drop even 10 RPM. Like it sounded identical along the straight, up the hill, and the engine didn't change note, didn't lose RPMs, nothing. It's like the engine didn't know what the word hill meant. It was going to do its, 2,000 RPM. Whatever it was doing, and it could have been vertical up the side of a building, could have been down a hill, on the flat, whatever. It didn't matter. It just did what it did, and it sounded cool as hell. And that's a memory from a few years ago, I can tell you. Okay, Barracuda. I had a VK Commodore with the older design 3.3 fuel injection. It was pretty hopeless for torque as well. Much better to put the tow bar on the Valiant. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Mopar Man just finished up the high flow single exhaust on the 170 cubic inch slant 6 for the Valiant. Yep, sorry I had to come in, get cleaned up and eat dinner. I'm like, mate, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, hey, you were working on your Mopar, so you get a free pass. So it's all good. It's all good. Granddad's junk. Man alive, it's hot today. The panels are humming. Well, guys, it's 9 o'clock. That's it. 2 hours are gone. Well, 1 hour, 59 minutes and 44 seconds. So, yeah, it's time to go. I've just about finished my bourbon. So that's usually an idea of the time. Chris Freemesser, Mopar Man 78. Just to catch you up on things, Aussie cars are cool. Don't drive on the wrong side of the street when on vacation. And Kev the Kiwi drove Kiwi's Audi into a bridge support. Oh, good Lord. Well, one thing we've got to say about Mr. Freemesser is he has a very vivid imagination, which is great. Barracuda, did many kids at your high school have cars? No. I think it was myself and two others at my high school, mate. Yeah, mine was a 59 Hillman Minx, and another guy had like a 62 Hillman Minx, and I can't even remember what the other one was. Certainly no one had an Impala, I'll tell you that much. But anyway, thanks for joining in, guys. Thanks for all the input. Thanks for another good night. Had a lot of fun. We had a few laughs tonight, which was great. Great talking about all the old Aussie stuff. Look up, if you haven't seen it already, go to YouTube, look up Touring Car Masters, and you will see some of the best motor racing that you're going to see. And that's if you're a drag racing fan, a NASCAR fan, an IndyCar fan, any of those, go and watch Touring Car Masters and come back next week and tell me it's boring. I challenge you. All right, you will enjoy it. Okay, guys, well, have a great night. Thanks for all being here. Great to have you along, Tavo, tonight. Not sure why we got treated to 2 hours of Tavo, but we did. I'll take it. And, yeah, have a good one. We'll see you next week. More videos coming out this week, so keep your eyes open. Got a little cheeky surprise one for you a bit later this week, hopefully. So, yeah, watch out for it. All right, take it easy, guys. Look after yourselves and keep working on your hot rods. See ya.